Close. Adam Kantrovich, an Extension Associate Professor of the Agribusiness Program Team for Clemson University, explains how the steel and aluminum tariffs could have an impact on items at the grocery store. If President Trump's steel and aluminum tariffs spark an international trade war, South Carolina farmers could be among the first to take a hit. Agriculture is one of the largest economic sectors in the largest export markets for the United States, says Adam Kantrovich, Associate Professor of Agribusiness at Clemson University, and it is likely the first place other countries would turn to retaliate, and it could impact the country's food suppliers. China, one of the top purchasers of U.S. farm goods, this week revealed a list of tariffs on 128 U.S. products, which includes a 15% tariff increase on products like nuts, wine and fresh and dried fruit, and a 25% tariff increase on some other products like pork. Problem is, usually when one tariff is put in place, and then retaliation measures are taken against it, then you've got a retaliation to the retaliation, Kantrovich says, and then things escalate and you end up with a lot of problems. What this means for consumers is likely not as clear, Kantrovich says, but in the world of global economics, it is possible the impact could trickle down to grocery store shelves eventually, and at the very least, it will likely mean even more fluctuation for the already volatile agricultural market. So you end up with job losses in some sectors and job gains or retentions in other job sectors, and potential for an increase in inflation, Kantrovich says. Variables make it difficult to predict the immediate outcome, he says. It's going to be down the road. Agriculture is one of the top sectors for retaliatory measures due to its trade surplus, Kantrovich says. Nationally, exports of agricultural goods have averaged nearly $140 billion since 2010, while imports have hovered around $100 billion, according to data from the United States Department of Agriculture's Economic Research Service. More, exte Food Hub Network is helping to grow local food producers, consumers throughout the state. Among the country's largest exports are commodity products, soybeans, rice, wheat, corn. In South Carolina, agriculture makes up about 25% of the state's land, says South Carolina Department of Agriculture Commissioner Hugh Weathers. Of the state's 20 million acres of land, just under 5 million is devoted to farming. Another 2/3 is forestland. It's important to know what is happening with our farm economy. Because of our 46 counties, it probably is still the #1 economic factor in 2/3 of them, Weathers says. We don't go to military war over food, we go to economic war over food, and this tariff debate and potential is very possibly the start of an economic war. The impending tariff fallout is something John Long is watching very carefully. As one of the state's large soybean farmers, Long is particularly honed in on China, which happens to be the largest importer of U.S. soybeans in the world, he says. If China imposes tariffs on U.S. products, then Long's, who has 1,300 acres of soybeans, could be left with an excess supply with no market. Potentially the worst case is we just wind up going out of business, says Long, who served as president of the American Soybean Association. It may take a while to filter down, but what happens here at the farm eventually winds up on everybody's dinner plate. It's not good. What could happen is that excess supply will lower prices of goods, hitting farmers and driving some out of business, Kantrovich says. It also means that once supply regulates again, prices could go up. In this January 6, 2015, file photo, corn is stored to the Green Plains ethanol plant in Shenandoah, Iowa. After President Donald Trump announced plans to impose tariffs on products, the Chinese government responded Friday, March 23, 2018, with a threat to add an equal 25% charge on U.S. products including pork. A 15% tariff also would be imposed on wine, apples, ethanol and stainless steel pipe as part of a $3 billion list of U.S. goods for possible retaliation. Photo, Nadi Harnik. AP. Historically, geopolitics, as Weathers says, has played a major role in farming outcomes. In the 70s, he recalls, when then-President Jimmy Carter responded to Russia's invasion of Afghanistan with an embargo on wheat exports to Russia, the wheat market took a hit. Long remembers that as well, but he recalls the longer-term impact was decreased confidence in U.S. goods. Those things, and the threat of those things, has a psychological impact on our customers. Long says, they start wondering, can they really depend on the United States to be a reliable supplier of something as important as food? Decades of work can be wiped away just with the wrong quote, or maybe the wrong tweet in the day and age we're in now. That delicate balance has become even more so in today's increasingly globalized world. The US is not the only player anymore, and so countries that import goods from this country now have other choices. Weather says, Brazil and Argentina combined now have the same production capacity as the United States, and Russia now produces a good amount of wheat. So, it is a pretty high-stakes game, Weather says, but it's not a game. The nature of farming means you can't just switch to producing a more valuable item. It takes time to rotate crops, prepare fields and to grow. Given the volatility of the business, Long says, farmers plan and execute their crops very carefully. Margins are so thin, so you can't just quit growing something one year, you depend on that to help pay bills on the farm, Long says. The takeaway from all this is, while we don't know what we don't know, there is nothing simple in today's global economy. I'm not trying to be disparaging against any person or party, Long says, choosing his words carefully, but political upheavals around the world can affect the price of what we do. So, we feel like we can't do much about that. But you kind of hate to see that when it has kind of gotten started here in our own country. Read or share this story. https://www.greenvillianonline.com/story/money/business/2018/04/02/ Here's how Trump's proposed tariffs could have impact food you eat /458673002/